I love this image. Can you see so much hope, so much promise? Now, this is a real grandma, right? This is not a stage scene. And when I look at this image, I'm a chair of the student with IEEE Creating Standards for Child and Student Governance. So what is the data governance needs to happen if you have information from a child? And what does that look like? And when you look at this, what do you see? Hope. Thank you. You do see hope. And look at that grandmother looking to her grandchild, recognizing with that laptop, he has access to a world she never had. Also, everything's organic in there except the laptop. So what does that mean for us? What does that mean for society? What else do you see? Wi-Fi, right. Yeah, you're wondering. OK, well, what was your comment? Nature, yes. So they're out there. I don't know where this is, but it's obviously a lot of rain and very green. So when I look at this, I see and feel this desire to make sure that the technology is going to benefit their life, both the grandma and the grandson. And what are the factors we need to think about and work together as a population, as humanity, to make sure that the internet that we're using and creating is the one that benefits, where people have choices, where there's options, and not only commercialized. So part of my role at the Global Information Infrastructure Commission is to work with the people at the top of the government level, because sure enough, if you have a target-rich environment, and this is from the history of humanity, and I don't know why people do this, but if there's a target-rich environment, there are criminals that want it. So data and information is a target-rich environment, and at the edges of the internet, everywhere it goes, the first three things that happen, who knows? It's not hope. It should be hope. Who knows? Anybody in law enforcement here? Anybody dealt with intellectual property? Anybody dealt with cybercrime, exploitation, radicalization? First three things. So when I was in the Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, cable directors came to UNESCO in Bangkok to talk to me about what do we need to do. We have these issues. We invested in a web for economic opportunities. And now we have all these issues. So what can we do in advance to navigate that so that grandma and grandson can have the internet experience that we want them to have, which is all opportunities and hope. Oops, wrong way. OK, so what do we need to know about you, little child? When does the child's digital dossier begin right now in this Palo Alto area? Any ideas? First doctor visit? Absolutely. And that's before they've had, so maybe the parents already had genetic screen. So I have a in utero grandbaby that's 20 weeks. So already even images, heart, bones, so much is already known about this child. So is this information that's known about my new grandchild I haven't even seen yet because just a little bump in my daughter's tummy, will this be used lifelong to be helpful? Or does it also share information that will keep them excluded from maybe an insurance they want, or maybe an education opportunity, or there's just so much. We decide so much with technology. Now see if I go backwards. So at the root, at the absolute root of the web, is that it shapes, we go to it because we want to find something. We want to do something. And then what we do and what we find shapes really what we believe. And then what we believe shapes what we do, which takes us to the internet to do something where we find something that shapes our belief that then shapes what we do. So if we can navigate that triangle purposefully, meaningfully, then what you send me is going to impact me in a way that I can make some really good, wise choices. So I met Ben last night at the dinner, and we had this very interesting conversation, and we were asking, how do you get your news? Because I'm old school, like I love NPR. I have all these old school things that I really like. I like to scan a paper still. I'm that old. Yes, I'm definitely, and I embrace it. I'm so happy to be old with grandchildren. It's absolutely worth it. So Ben says to me, some specific things like Twitter, places where you're getting your news. And then I realized, Ben and I are never going to see the same news. We're not going to see it the same way, his view and perspective of the world is going to be tailored and shaped for him. And mine is shaped for me. So how do we come to a shared experience that's happening if it's absolutely tailor-made to validate my already established preferences. At the root, what comes to me impacts what I believe, impacts what I do. So if we can make the gears work together, then we can problem solve together. If the gears don't work together, then we go like this, further and further and further. So I was having a conversation with my friend who's a cybersecurity expert, and he kept thinking I was talking about content, protecting children from content, like is it sexual violence, and that is important. It is important. But I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about what actually comes to them when they are served. Now, I like to use the word served because the industry uses the word search, right? Do you really search? I'm in Stanford. I'm sure there's a few of you who actually do have your own algorithms and you actually search the web. But I've never met anybody who actually does that on their own. For me, this is how I imagine the internet, full of stuff. This is not the way the internet is, because with the internet, you can't see everything. With the library, we walk in, we already understand the bias. This was Ireland. So we have the bias of why the books are there, who wrote the books. So we understand why it's there, because it's in context with Ireland. We also can see the people they valued. There's their statues. So we know their paradigm and what they valued. And anyone can walk anywhere and see all the books. Now, I'm sure they have a special collection. I enjoyed the Book of Kells, It's beautiful, a lovely place. I just love this place. But we can all go, though, all of us could go at the same time, and we would have an understanding of what's in that library. But on the web, that's not what we have. We don't have card catalogs. Now, I remember card catalogs, for all of you. If you ever tip one of those things out and you pulled out that little thing because you were interested and then they go everywhere, librarians are very upset. Don't do that. I was one of those who had to always pull things apart. This was how we found information. But anyone could pull the card catalog and find all the same information. So Ben's catalog and my catalog, we would pull the same drawer and we would have a shared paradigm. Now, it is already biased. There's already authors in there for a reason. There's books there for a reason. There's a language for a reason. But we can all understand that it's biased for a reason. This is the bias. It's Ireland. They're speaking English or not, depending on where. So we can have a shared experience and understanding. So sometimes you get bigger and bigger card catalogs. Now, this was a technology solution for search from the law school in Michigan. Oh, engineering. So here you have the male student searching, literally, and an image goes to the card catalog where you can have a host of women running around in their cute little shoes, picking up the card catalogs for the engineering student. And then he served what he was searching. That is actually a search, right? Because there's a finite amount of information that we all understand the bias. It's going to be engineering. And then there's a set place you can get it. And if it comes to you, whether because it's a nice little lady who's going to be your librarian, who's going to find it for you, or if it's an algorithm, now, this is our new librarian. But we don't know who she or he is. We don't know how the algorithms are stacked on top of each other. So we don't know actually what we're going to be served because we didn't look at the card catalog, right? You do not see what's in the web. You are served. You are only served information. You hit a bar that says search. You hit a key that says search. You are served by algorithms set by a host of values that you may or may not agree with, you may or may not understand. But that's what you get. And then what you get through your one little screen, because you can't stand in the hall and go, wow, look at all those books. You have a tiny screen, maybe this size screen, maybe that size screen. But you're limited literally by the geography of the screen. So how much information can you take in? So there's all this competition from various industries or not, who's ever doing, trying to get the information down to you, who can get you what you're interested in the most. What will get you to stop and stay here? Because if you stay here, your eyeballs are revenue for me. And if you click on something, it's even more revenue. So if you just stay, that's money. And if you click, that's money. So what do I need to do to my content so that you stay and you click with me? Well, who are those people? And what are those questions that bring me my personalized bookmobile? That's what you get when you search. They've already been pre-digested for you, and they've already been prioritized with the sponsored ones at the top. How many youth actually understand what sponsored content is? And I've lived in an area where we had a bookmobile. It's like you're like always suffocating for more information. It's just so you're out in a little rural area, and it's just like a bookmobile. I've got to get to a city. I have to have a library. And these were such nice people to bring me books and my children books, but they just didn't bring enough. And they didn't bring ones that were really interesting for my children because they weren't really farm kids. They were living in this lovely, beautiful area. And the bookmobile is not always what I wanted. But that's all you get. That's all you get on your web. That's all you get on your browser. That's all that comes on Safari or Chrome or DuckDuckGo or whatever you're doing. You only get what has been served to you by your bookmobile. So these are your librarians. They're not looking for the engineering content that you were searching for. They are looking for the engineering-ish content that you might find interesting that will keep you on the platform or have you click on something. So what goes on in the background there absolutely shapes the experience of the content that you get. So what that means is that what you get is what you're finding, which is going to shape your beliefs, which is going to shape what you do, which is the circle that goes round and round and round. So with my work with the EP3 Foundation, we're looking at different data models so that we could hash the provenance of our data to the smallest attribute. If we could do that, then we could take the ideas from the Media Lab, from lots of places, and create a series of standards that could be executed smart contracts. So every time I could say, well, I'm looking for this, and then I could set and establish the credibility or the credential levels of what I wanted. And we don't have to get rid of all the rights of the web as we know it. We don't have to do anything to diminish. We can augment with different data paradigms. And this is an example. I have two really quick ones, and then I've left the rest of the time for question and answers, because this is where I have a chance to hear from you what you're really thinking about in this topic. So with students and children, let's just take this example. I'll throw out the wild one first. Let's not do children. Let's just do cars. So we're parking, and you have the Park Mobile app. How many of you have Park Mobile? Okay, a few of us. In DC, like you never leave your phone without the Park Mobile app if you don't. I mean, if you want to park anywhere, if you want to find parking, you need that app. So now let's say I have a very nice restaurant, and I only want to have very nice, expensive cars on the first 4 rows, because it sets this brand of, it's this new, hot, and up-and-coming restaurant, and I want only cars with a value of $100,000 and more. Now, in Palo Alto, you could have quite a few. There could be a long row. I don't have one of those. Just if you're wondering, I do not have one of those. I have a bike. There's no law that says you can't discriminate against cars parking. So now I'm driving literally, I do have a Subaru Outback from 2001. And I'm driving my Subaru, and I pull up my Park Mobile app, and I see what's available. Guess what's not there? The parking in front of the restaurant. I'll never know. That is what the root of the issue is. You don't know what you don't know because you're not served. And at the root, that is the cause of so much friction. And it's the topic that I don't hear anywhere. I keep going, why aren't we talking about this? It's the information you will not hear, and you can't even say I was discriminated against. So what about our children and their data? What about you and your data that is keeping you from information and opportunities that you want if you only knew? But you don't because your algorithms created this serving for you. So I'll tell you a true story, and then we'll go to questions. I did a project with the Boy Scouts on pornography. Hello, the web is full of sexual content that is sexual violence. Like, this is not people just having normal experiences. This is totally sexual violence. And everybody needs to talk to their children about the web, and there's a bunch of really hurtful, harmful, misogynistic, terrible content, and we have to talk about it. So I just thought, great, I'm going to find some funny YouTube videos about how to talk to kids about sex that make it funny, instead of like, oh no, Mom, don't talk to me about that. Like, yeah, like we're people, this is how people, like we're all people, this is universal. So I was searching what YouTube thought. I was looking for sexual videos. I am not looking for sexual videos. I'm looking for a funny way to talk about really good, healthy relationships, and sex is part of that. So I wanted something that would be even like Boy Scout approved. So what happened in my searches is that what I used to search and be able to pull up once no longer came up. I was shocked because apparently if I searched this and this and this, plus that, I wiped out all of my first searches, which would be information from a credible source. Because apparently people that are searching this and this and this, and that, they don't want the credible content, they want the sort of weird, fluffy, edgy, strange stuff. Which is fine if you're doing that for entertainment, but I need the web for information. And it took 3 months before it quit. That's when I knew it was what you don't get that really matters. And digital ethics is more than, is there an ad? At least you see the ad, and you can respond to the ad. Now, if you have a child who's anorexic and she keeps getting ads on diet pills, this is a problem. If you have a child that is an alcoholic and they get how to make your own stuff, that's a problem because it's hard for them. But you at least see it. But what you don't see is that you don't get the same quality content because people made assumptions about you with what you viewed. So what we see impacts how we believe, and that impacts how we do.